Thank you, sister. So beautiful. Wow. Next to me stands Frankie Snow, Francesca. The same names, yes. She's a really, really great friend. She's a Freundin, so viele auch hier. She's going to be speaking today for about 40 minutes, so you can, sit, relax if you want to write down some notes. Some of us have Bibles. You can always open that. But Frankie is a very, very inspirational woman. Yeah, you truly are. She grew up in London or in England. England. At the moment, she lives in Dublin, Ireland. So she flew into Berlin, especially for this day. Grateful. She's married and she has 2 amazing children, Finn and little Willow. Ist jetzt mit Papa. Yes, Willow is the most cutest baby you've ever seen. Big blue eyes, red hair, smiling every day. We have an amazing children. But Frankie is inspiring. She'll share her testimony of what made her come to faith, looking good on her and choosing to now live in a very trusting way to live her full potential. But a little bit about Frankie is that, I think she's just an amazing friend. She's a very relatable woman. You're very, faithful. They've gone through a lot in Dublin, Ireland, because it's a very Catholic country. And they go through a lot of where people get very angry at the message of Jesus to make it personal. And they've gone through a lot of, they call it Verfolgung, persecution, whereby people write things about you that are not true. And they stand with their family, and they have an amazing group of people in their ministry who are very, very close, their family together. Her husband makes music. He's a great artist. He's on Spotify. If you want to know about his albums, you can ask Frankie later. I just want to ask you guys to give your whole heart, now and then up and to where we're cheering on. And give a round of applause for Frankie sharing.
Guten Tag. I'll just get myself set up a little bit. You guys can hear me when I'm standing here? Yeah. Cool, so I like to move a little bit, so. Well, guten Tag. My name is Francesca, like Franny, but everybody calls me Frankie. And it's just amazing being here in Berlin, Germany. And I was actually reflecting when the last time I was in Germany, and it was when I was a teenager. And I actually did a German exchange. So I lived in Germany for a week with another family. I stayed with a young girl called Julia. And I actually got to stay in the house of the mayor of Stuttgart. I don't know how that happened, but I stayed in this big mansion. They gave me a whole floor. So I got to experience that, which was really, really cool. And I just really want to lift up the Berlin Church. I think you women are amazing. I'm so inspired by your hospitality. Everybody's given me a gift. The brothers have given up their entire home. I'm speechless. I don't have enough words to thank you all. You all have such a beautiful heart. And thank you so much to Vienna and just your inspiration, your heart, the way that you train your women. I'm just coming back to Ireland with so much vision, and I really want to imitate your faith. So thank you so much. And it's just been amazing just exploring Berlin City in general. It's a beautiful city. I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but it's such a beautiful city. And Tomiwa actually took us to the Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church, which was very moving for me just to see how it looks as it did when it was bombed, including the bullet holes. And that just made me think, wow, the German are willing to show their scars, which is very vulnerable. And I just want to lift up everybody who's come today, who's willing to show your scars, because an event like this, that's what it's all about. It's vulnerable, but the fact that you're even here shows that you want to grow in God. So I just want to lift up everybody who's come today. And as Vienna said, I'm a mother of 2. So I'm a full-time mum, which I love. We call my children the snow beans, because my surname is Snow. They are the little snow beans, and I get to be with them full-time, which is incredible. And then I also get to serve the church in Dublin, Ireland as a missionary. I'm married to an amazing man called Luke, who I'm madly in love with. And as Vienna shared, I'm from England, but I also have some Scottish blood. And I was speaking to Vanessa just then, and her husband feel called to go to Scotland. So maybe we have a little connection there. But yes, we're now living in Dublin, Ireland. I have a background in the arts. So as a young child, I was always interested in creativity and painting. So I went to a specialist art school where I did graphic design, and I actually have a background in making books. I used to design books. My dad has a publishing business as well, so I used to love designing books and making them. But this feels like a long, long time ago. A lot's happened since then, which I'll share about. A few fun facts about me is that I actually used to be a beekeeper. We were just talking about this. I was a paid full-time beekeeper. It was not even a hobby, it was my job. And this was in the city centre of London, of all places, where I was a full-time beekeeper. And I would go to the top of rooftops and manage the hives, and even teach lawyers how to keep bees. It was very random. But I've always been very interested in the environment. Another cool fact is that I've been to one of the most remote places in the world, which is called Imbak Canyon. It's in Borneo, Southeast Asia, and more people have been to Mount Everest than have been to this area in the world. It's super, super remote. And I always desired to have adventure in life. Another thing is that, ironically, one of my biggest ever fears growing up, if anybody asked you, what is your biggest fear? Without a doubt, I would have said public speaking. I would have said, I hate public speaking. I hate speaking in general. I do not like speaking. But somehow, God has making me travel to the other end of the world to speak. And I've spoken in Paris, Barcelona, London, and now Berlin. Which I'm so grateful for. So thank you so much again for having me in your hospitality. And just to remind everyone what the theme of today is, one of the themes is how to reach your full potential. And the theme scripture is in Luke 1, verse 45, which reads, "Blessed is she who believes." So some of us may not have a Bible today. That's totally fine. If you want to share, if you just want to listen in, if you're just curious, please go ahead. But the word blessed can actually mean many different things to all of us. But I can honestly say that my life genuinely transformed and changed when I made the decision to believe in Jesus, because I believed in a lot of other things. And I actually became a Christian in October 2018, which is nearly 8 years ago. But before all of that, I actually just want to share a little bit about my life before Christ. There's so many layers to my life before Christ. I'm 33 years old now, still have my whole life ahead of me, but there was a lot that happened before Christ that really helps me to see that Jesus' light shines in my life, because I was really in a lot of darkness. I was very lost. I lived a very reckless life. And I believe this all began at the precious age of a teenager. When I look at teenagers now, I'm heartbroken because I see them as children. But when you're that age, you really believe that you're an adult, that you have everything together. And it was really at the age of 14, and this was actually the age when I was last in Germany, that's when a lot of darkness was entering my heart. And at the age of 14, that's when I made the decision to start taking a lot of alcohol. And I remember the first time I drank alcohol, I decided to basically have a whole liter of vodka, completely passed out. Somebody found me by the side of a river with blood all the way down my legs. It was by God's grace that I was alive, that I didn't even go inside that river. Was hospitalized. My mom needed to come pick me up, needed to go on a drip, and it took me days to recover from that. It was an alcohol overdose, so I nearly died. And this was at the age of 14, and I remember going to school the week after, and the teachers kind of pulled me aside and said, do you want help? Would you like some counseling? And I remember thinking, no, this is normal. I don't need counseling. Every young person does this. All my friends have done this. Why would I need counseling? So I refused that help. And this began 10 years of drug and alcohol abuse, because alcohol often does lead to then a slippery slope of drug abuse. And it was predominantly at university where it got very dark with drug misuse. There were some times where I wouldn't sleep for about 3 days because I was just continuously taking drugs. And my drug of choice normally was MDMA. And I would get so high and I would just want more. I remember this, just having taken a whole bag of MDMA and just saying, I need more, I'm not high enough. And I remember knocking on strangers' doors, asking if they had drugs, because I was so desperate to be on more of a high. Once I literally had an infection in my body, and instead of going to the doctor and thinking, I need to get better, I thought, what's a good idea? Let's take more vodka, a whole bag of MDMA, which resulted in a major infection, and that happened multiple times. I was living such a reckless life, I had no care for my body. And then on top of this, my relationships with men was extremely promiscuous. And that got particularly dark when I was in London, where I wasn't even thinking about, do I have a boyfriend? It was, let me just sleep with anybody. And there was a moment in life where I was just being with different men, and that resulted in me becoming pregnant. Sadly, at that moment, I didn't even know who was the father of that child, and I was really wrestling because I knew deep down I need to keep this child. It's not right, even though I'd never read the Bible before. But having made about 20 phone calls and being so indecisive and hearing so many different opinions, the final phone call I had was with somebody who said it's not fair to raise this child as a single mum. And I allowed that decision to influence me having an abortion. And that was where I really hit rock bottom. I've never felt such emptiness after that. The clinicalness of going into the hospital, literally having life taken out of you, which was my decision, just put me in a deep depression. And I remember going back home. I was working in London at the time, but I just wasn't functioning. So I went back home for about a month. I remember even trying to journal, but no words were coming out, just scribbling in the book, just feeling so empty as a woman. And it was at that moment, this was kind of in my early 20s, where that's where I started to actually explore some spirituality, because I thought, this is not healthy. I don't even know who God is. I don't know anything about Jesus or the Bible, but I need healing. I knew that at least. So I started to seek healing, and that's where I started to explore Buddhism, meditating in the morning. I went to many different ancient, it's called like ancient American healing methods. I tried a method called sweat lodging, where you go in a tent and there's a fire in the middle of the tent and you're meant to sweat out your impurities. I was going everywhere to try and get right, to heal. And little did I know that one of God's names is Jehovah Rapha, which means healer. So I was actually seeking God all this time without realizing it. But similar to, I think Olga shared, Jesus would have been the last choice for me. The Bible, that was not what I was looking for. I wanted the Buddhist choice or the cool kind of New Age choice. But God was like, no, this is the truth. And it was really when I actually hit that rock bottom that I decided, okay, I'm going to try this Bible thing. I'm going to try Jesus and see if it works. And in 2 weeks, I was blown away that I was actually able to change after studying the Bible. Because I tried to go celibate. I tried to stop drinking. I tried to stop smoking. I tried to change my life, and it would often last for maybe a month, but then I'd go back to the same patterns again and again. So deep down, I knew I needed to change. But after studying the Bible for 2 weeks, I changed in all of these areas, genuinely transformed, was baptized, and this was in October 2018, which was amazing. And my life was set free. It's not to say, as a Christian, suddenly you don't have any suffering. I mean, Vienna even shared, as of recently, we've had quite a lot of suffering in Dublin, Ireland. But I know that I've been set free. My soul is no longer enslaved to all of these things. I'm no longer in the darkness, but been brought into his wonderful light. But some of you may be thinking, wow, that sounds like a really hard upbringing, but honestly, a lot of these things were self-inflicted. But then on top of that, there was actually a lot of good things going on in my life before Jesus. I was actually trying to do a lot of good. I did a lot of charity work. I did working for homelessness. I used to work for the youth, where I'd actually work with young people who had a criminal record and trying to help them to go back to life and make a difference in their life. I worked with a lot of vulnerable people. I even somehow managed to speak in Parliament about the different charity work that I was doing. terrified because obviously my sphere was public speaking, but God kept saying, speak in public all the time. So I was doing a lot of these kind of good things, but even within that, I was not finding fulfillment at all. On paper, I would have actually looked like a good woman, but none of these things actually fulfilled me. And I've really come to realize over the last 8 years of being a Christian that it's believing, it's faith that brings true fulfillment, because faith looks good on us. Let's say that to one another now. Faith looks good on you. Faith looks good on you. And that's only through God. So I really want to talk today about how we can find our full potential in God alone. There's an amazing quote from a woman. It says, everyone has inside of them a piece of good news. The good news is that you don't know how great you can be. We all have a greatness inside of us that we haven't even tapped into yet. It says, human greatness does not lie in wealth or power, but in character and goodness. In Ephesians 2 verse 10 in the New Living Translation, God literally describes us as a masterpiece. That makes me think of like a beautiful painting, the incredible architecture here in Berlin. That's how God views us in even more in a beautiful way. And that we're created to do good things. But I think often we can try and do that on our own strength, which is what I was trying to do all of those, all of those years. I was trying to do good on my own strength. But God wants us to do good for him. So what do I believe is one of the keys of actually having a fulfilled life? I believe one of them is having a reason to wake up in the morning. And I love that Franny spoke about this. She spoke about having a great morning routine, which I want to talk about today, which is amazing. And I want to talk about a woman in the Bible who has reached her full potential. And she has a reason to wake up in the morning. So let's turn to Proverbs 31. And we're going to read verses 10 and 15. Again, if you don't have a Bible, that's totally okay. Please feel free just to listen in. But this woman is incredible because she's hardworking, she is diligent, she's excellent, she's creative. It says that she has strong arms. The list goes on. So again, whether you're Christian today, whether you come from a Buddhist background, atheist, come here just out of curiosity, no matter what, this is actually a woman that we can aspire to be like. And I really want to inspire us today to be like this woman. It's kind of like goals. This woman is goals. I really want to be like this woman. And I want to inspire us that this is actually who we are. This is who God created us to be. I love that Vienna spoke about this at the beginning of the event, about true womanhood. This is what it's all about. I actually just did a lesson recently in Dublin. It was called Woman Up. You know how like men say, let's man up. Let's start a new thing, let's woman up. I think this could be like a hashtag. But let's first read in verse 10 of Proverbs 31. The Bible reads, a wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. And I love this because it speaks about her worth, and that her worth is even more than rubies. I was researching rubies. Some people spend up to like $30 million on one singular ruby. And God says we are worth more than that. How incredible is that? And that this is worth that cannot be found in anything else but God. This is worth that we cannot earn. This is worth that cannot be taken away. How beautiful is that? Jesus loves women so much. Did you know that the longest conversation that Jesus had with anyone was with a woman? He loves us so much. He elevates us to be the true women that he designed us to be. But maybe you may feel like your worth has been diminished today. You need to ask yourselves, where are we looking for our worth? Many times in the past, I tried to find my worth in success, predominantly in school, because I wasn't naturally academic. I have two siblings who are like the most academic you can imagine. My brother went to Oxford, got a first, then went to Tokyo University, studied advanced engineering in Japanese. So can you imagine the level of intelligence? My sister is incredible too. And I actually would grow up comparing myself to them, because I'm kind of like the artsy one, painting, which is a form of intelligence that I realize now. But growing up, I would give myself the narrative that I'm not intelligent. And I would try and find my worth in academic success. I would also try and find my worth in my relationships with men. So if there was ever a moment where I was rejected by a man, by a boyfriend, then I felt like my worth was just completely diminished. Or just not feeling more beautiful. There I felt like, where is my worth? And that's what really dictated my worth. But the Bible says that's not where we get it from. We are already worth it, more than rubies. And some of us may not even believe in God right now, but God still says you are worth more than rubies. How amazing is that? We can never earn it. But let's now read verse 15, because I know I mentioned for us to meet our full potential is to have a reason to wake up in the morning. And this woman is amazing. In verse 15, it says she gets up while it's still night. She gets up early. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. So this woman gets up early, and she has a reason to wake up in the morning. I was looking at one of the root meanings for to get up, and it means to be fulfilled. The reason why she got up in the morning was because she felt fulfilled. And I think often, this was me before Jesus, I would often feel like, do I have a reason to get up? And it can be demotivating. It can even be linked to depression in some circumstances. But this woman had purpose. So I want us to ask today, what does our morning routine look like? What is our reason to wake up in the morning? I was researching an amazing German woman. Her name is Herta Müller, and she's known for her poetic and symbolic language, and she even won a Nobel Prize in literature in 2009. And her morning involved a quiet, focused writing time. I think about Michelle Obama, an incredible, inspirational woman, literally the wife of a former president, the first black president. How amazing. And she's known to wake up at 4:30 a.m. or 5 a.m., and she had a quiet time and an exercise routine. And then Serena Williams, who I love, an iconic tennis player, always had a consistent morning routine, which was key to her success. But we could argue that the Proverbs 31 woman started this trend thousands of years ago. So we want to ask ourselves, what does our morning routine look like? And I was looking at a survey of what women typically do in the morning, which is so relatable, and I can still do to this day. But according to a survey with women in the EU, predominantly we often prepare breakfast first thing in the morning, have a coffee, fair dues, mornings are tough, care for children, do some light housework, prepare for work. And we can see that the common theme for women is that we're in this reactive mode in the morning, and our first thought is, how can I serve somebody else? How can I, and that's amazing that women are like that. We're always thinking about the needs of others. And it's said that within the first 10 minutes of waking up, that's actually where you form your judgment for the day. So it's a very powerful time, just the first 10 minutes of your waking up. And if we mentally start our day intentionally, with planning and reflection, we'll have higher engagement, more focus, and better productivity. So morning routine helps with mental clarity. And I love that, again, Franny spoke about, are we actually going on our phones first thing in the morning? This is something that I need to watch myself also. But this, again, is like a reactive mode. And we live in a day and age where there's so many distractions. There's screens everywhere. Our phones are constantly having notifications. But the danger of waking up and going straight to your phone, whether it's social media, the news, whatever it may be, it actually creates a scattered thinking. It lowers productivity. It makes our brains overload way too early because it's actually in a completely different mode at that time. It can bring mental fatigue, increase stress and anxiety, reduce our focus span, and it triggers unhealthy emotions. That's happened to me before, where I've got on my phone first thing and I'm instantly triggered in some way. But you might be thinking, where's God involved in all of this? Why are we talking about morning routines? Is a morning routine what's going to change your life? Not necessarily, because I've actually lived that out. I've had moments where I've had depressed mornings. I've even had moments where I had discipline moments even before I was following God. I was meditating in the morning. That took discipline. When I lived in Falmouth, Cornwall, every morning I would wake up, run to the ocean, and jump in the ocean, even in the winter. Even when it was hailing, I would do cold water swimming, which is amazingly good for you, but that didn't necessarily change my life. I even did early morning Pilates workouts, and I love Pilates still. I love working out, but that wasn't enough to transform my life. Because honestly, a lot of this was behavior modification, but not heart transformation that, again, Franny spoke about. Honestly, I hadn't cried for years because I was so numb. To this day, I really have to ask myself, what am I feeling? What are the 5 main emotions? Am I sad, glad, mad, afraid, or embarrassed? Because those 10 years of drugs and alcohol abuse stunted my emotional growth. And I hadn't cried for years. And if I did cry, it would be this huge, bottle up, and then suddenly this outpouring of, uncontrollable sobbing. So I became a woman of discipline in some areas, but the reality was I was trying to cover up pain through that and what I was feeling on the inside. Because all of those cold water swimmings, it never pushed me towards forgiving people. All of the meditation didn't help me to let go of the shame of the abortion, of aborting a child. It didn't help me to connect to God's forgiveness. And all of the Pilates, it didn't break off the toxic relationships that I was in. So what was the missing ingredient? Where does real, long-lasting, heart-depth change come from? It's not Pilates. It's not doner kebabs, even though I had doner kebab yesterday. Germany cranked doner kebabs. I even finished it off on my breakfast today. It's not having a sex change. I want to lift up Daniela. Danny, you are an amazing woman. I'm so inspired by you. And you've just honestly refreshed my soul, just knowing you. I'm so inspired by you. And you are the change for many women. And you are showing us that that's not what brings true fulfillment. It's through God embracing our womanhood. We're not going to find fulfillment even from getting a PhD. I think we're in a culture where we just want to keep adding to our education, which isn't necessarily bad. But then once you get to that PhD, what's next? Another PhD? And it said a lot of celebrities, when they reach their peak, that's when they're most depressed. Because they finally reach that success which they want, and then they're like, oh, that's actually very empty. What's next? That's not what brings true fulfillment. Fulfillment doesn't come through proving yourself to your dad, which is what I was trying to do all my life. It doesn't come through 6 figures, making 6 figures. It doesn't come through being an independent woman. That was what I was all about. Actually, the first date I had with my husband, I kind of made a joke. I'm an independent woman because he offered to hold my bag. And out of the overflow of my heart, I was like, I'm an independent woman. He's like, okay, we've got some work to do there. That's not what brings fulfillment. Do you want to know what brings fulfillment, ladies? Amazing. Let's see it in 2 Corinthians 5, verse 17. I'm going to read it in the contemporary English version. I was reading it in so many different versions yesterday, but I was like, this one hits it. So 2 Corinthians 5, verse 17. It says, anyone who belongs to Christ is a new person. The past is forgotten, and everything is new. Who today wants a fresh start? You just want a clean slate. You want to start brand new. Who doesn't want that? The way that we're going to truly do that is making the decision to put our faith in Jesus Christ, because faith looks good on us, sisters. If you're feeling skeptical right now, if you don't even believe, I want to give you the challenge. Often when we're trying something new, we put on, for example, Netflix, you do like a month challenge, right? Or you sign up to a gym, whatever it may be. You try it out. I really want to challenge us to try out Jesus. If you're brand new to Jesus today, if you've never read the Bible, if you've never prayed, just try in the morning praying. Try in the morning reading the Bible, and I promise you your life will transform. And if you don't know how, please ask the woman who invited you out today and see your life transform. Because when we begin each day with God, everything else will fall into its right place. And there may be those who are already Christian, but maybe we need to reignite our relationship with God. This is speaking to me right now. I'm a mum of an 8-month-year-old, so my mornings are still a bit all over the place. I need to reignite my relationship with God, and that's okay. There's always different seasons in our relationship with God. I can be up here speaking about God, and I still need to grow in my relationship with God. And, what's ways we can reignite? Get that new candle. It could be as simple as a new candle, a new journal, a fresh new Bible, and really romance with the Prince of Peace. Start drawing. I love drawing with God. I love painting. I love singing. I don't necessarily have a voice to sing, but I love singing. Great, lifting up Grace. I've never heard her sing on stage before. Grace. She's been hiding. Not in Berlin. You're not on the Usher's team anymore. But yes, our potential will come, our true full potential will come in a relationship with God. It's really that simple. And I really want to end on some amazing song lyrics, because a great way that I love to connect with God is through music. And I love Lauren Daigle. I don't know if anyone else does. I love Lauren Daigle. There's a song for everything. Her lyrics are amazing. I didn't actually write down the name of the song. I think it's I Say or You Say. You Say. And it says, yeah, we want God to say, not us to say. It says, I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. You say that I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I am weak. You say I am held when I am feeling short. And when I don't belong, you say I am yours. And I believe what you say of me. The only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth. In you I find my identity. Thank you so much, sisters. Dankeschön.